In the 2018 National Championship game, Alabama trailed 13-0 at halftime.
You know, at times Jalen did a very good job of reading coverages and passing the ball, but there were still some inconsistencies in that part of his game. So when halftime came and it was 13-0, I said, we're going to have to make a change.
Hurts was benched for freshman Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! The first person to greet Tua after the touchdown, Jalen Hurts.
In this video, let's explore whether Tua Tagovailoa can be more like Jalen Hurts in the 2023 football season. I got some things to show you. Let's jump into it. In this video, I saw something on ESPN which I thought was a great way to analyze where these two quarterbacks have been, where these two quarterbacks are, and where these two quarterbacks could be. And the parallel between Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa is something a lot of us know, but I wonder if you've ever delved into this pretty deep. So I'm going to show you this video that aired on ESPN. It's a wonderful piece about Jalen Hurts. And as you watch it, and as we critique it, think to yourself, can Tua Tagovailoa be this type of guy? Can he be this type of quarterback in 2023? So let's take a listen.
Adversity throughout his NFL career, but the ability to persevere through difficult circumstances started way before he got to the pros.
So it's interesting right there. Both of these quarterbacks have experienced setbacks. Both of them have had to overcome a lot to get where they are. Jalen, on the other hand, won his conference championship and then went to the Super Bowl. And we already know what's going on with Tua. So let's continue.
Daycare was always a football field. With that, you're around older kids, you're imitating them, and he just kind of fell in love with football.
Jalen Hurts, the son of a high school football coach, began his journey on the sidelines of Channelview High School, east of Houston, Texas.
What lessons were ingrained in you by your father through the game of football?
Being a ball boy, being on the sideline, created a ton of value for me. I was able to fall in love with the process of what it takes to succeed, what hard work looks like.
I think that really laid the foundation because he's a sponge.
Now, right away, parallel with Tua. Two strong parents in the home, two very strong parents in the home. So the parallel when I watched this video was really striking to me. I'm like, okay, they both went to small town high schools. They both had a great upbringing with parents who cared about them and nurtured them. Both Tua and Jalen, that's probably why they got along.
By the time he reached high school in 2012, Hurts used those experiences to become a star dual-threat quarterback.
At the start of his junior year, he had taken his game to another level.
North Shore has been a rival, our nemesis. We had never beat North Shore. The stadium was packed. We were losing. There was 5.9 seconds left on the clock. Jalen threw a deep Hail Mary pass. It was the most exciting game that I had ever seen.
Winners win. That's what I caught from this segment. Winners win. Tua felt the same when he was in high school. They win. Winners win. And that's how you get over a lot of adversity, is you win.
Hurts developed into a four-star recruit, committing to national powerhouse Alabama, becoming the first true freshman to start for the Crimson Tide in 32 years.
And it's just so compelling to see the parallel that both quarterbacks went through. They both went to Alabama. It's just amazing. And then they both got to start early in their career.
Well, he had a tremendous amount of maturity for a freshman. Really came in very sort of dedicated to learn the offense. And he had a really good opportunity based on our situation, and he took advantage of it.
Despite going 26-2 over his first two seasons, facing adversity started becoming Hurts' story. In the 2018 National Championship game, Alabama trailed 13-0 at halftime.
At times Jalen did a very good job of reading coverages and passing the ball, but there were still some inconsistencies in that part of his game. So when halftime came and it was 13-0, I said, we're going to have to make a change.
Now understand, when one person is going through adversity, it opens the door for somebody else's opportunity. That's what both of these guys have experienced throughout their collegiate career and their professional career as well.
Hurts was benched for freshman Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! The first person to greet Tua after the touchdown, Jalen Hurts.
That's a teammate. That is a teammate. I just got benched because I wasn't performing right. You bring in Tua, he throws a touchdown, and I'm the first one out on the field to congratulate you. That's what a teammate is supposed to do, and both these guys have that in them.
Everybody's got to buy into the principles and values of the team, and I think that was the greatest example we've ever had in our program's history.
The following season, Tua Tagovailoa was named the starting quarterback at Alabama, but instead of transferring, Jalen became QB2.
There was a lot of phone calls and a lot of conversations because it was a real tough time because that's a humbling situation.
But Jalen took the attitude that I'm going to work, so I'm going to be able to take advantage of an opportunity when it comes my way.
That's what a lot of the younger athletes don't understand. Instead of being dejected, instead of letting adversity take you over, you need to be ready when adversity strikes somebody else and it becomes your opportunity.
Fast forward to the SEC championship game the next year, Tua gets hurt and he goes in and wins the game.
Touchdown! Jalen Hurts! Yeah, just imagine that. This is a storybook type of thing. You don't see that. Hey, listen, you're not playing well. I'm going to step in and I'm going to win the game. That's what Tua did when Jalen went, he didn't go down, but he was playing like crap. In this game, a year later, Tua goes down and Jalen Hurts leads them to the win. To me, the parallels there are simply amazing.
I just felt like I was doing what I was raised to do, doing the right thing. I know I have scars. I know I have a past. I know I have things that I've had to overcome.
In 2019, Hurts graduated from Alabama with 1 year of eligibility left and chose to attend the University of Oklahoma to hone his passing skills.
I thought at times he played too robotic, and some of that maybe, in my opinion, was a little bit part of his personality because he is so regimented and so process-driven.
Coach Riley had a while.
Now, to me, that's also something that I think increased Jalen Hurts' game. He went from Alabama, which is obviously a process-driven program, to Lincoln Riley's tutelage, where they were slinging the ball all over the field. He's doing it again up in USC, and it's a completely different, almost like a pro-style offense where he's getting to throw the ball. Tua, you think about it, he came from Nick Saban's offense, and then he got thrust into a bunch of crappy coaches. He got involved with a bunch of crappy coaches that didn't allow him to progress to the next level. He lost that step that Jalen had. Jalen went to Lincoln Riley's program, basically already done with school, and says, show me how to be an NFL quarterback. And he blossoms. Tua comes into the NFL, had to get basically, recover from his injury. And then he had a crap level of coaches who didn't know how to utilize his talents. That's why I think that 1 year under Mike McDaniel last year may show the difference this year, now going into year two.
Wide open offense, and, he was able to go and throw it around. So it's not like, okay, he can't throw. He didn't just learn how to throw. Coach Riley gave him that opportunity.
I thought that we could free him up a little bit, in a sense, both mentally and physically, to really...
Does that sound familiar? I thought we could free him up both mentally and physically. What was the first thing that Mike McDaniel did when he got to Miami? He put together that 700-play tape, and he freed Tua Tagovailoa mentally. He was in a bad place mentally, and he had to free him up. The similarities as I watched this piece was just amazing.
He tried to further unlock the player that he could be.
After Hurts set career highs, passing for 32 touchdowns and over 3,800 yards in the air, the Eagles selected him in the second round of the 2020 NFL Draft. Now, Jalen has reached the final step of the journey From son of a coach in Channelview, Texas, to Super Bowl starting quarterback.
From humble beginnings to all of the challenges, he's always managed to rise.
There cannot be a greater ambassador than Jalen in terms of how he represents himself. I couldn't be prouder.
Yes, there can be a greater ambassador or an equal ambassador. This is the year that Tua Tagovailoa, I believe, is going to be forced to take the same steps, the same advancement in the process that Jalen Hurts took. He went through adversity. He overcame it. He gets drafted. He goes to the NFL. He takes a year to figure out what's going on. And essentially, that's the same thing with Tua. This year, Tua needs to take that advancement of the process and be the ambassador that Nick Saban is talking about. Now it's time to lead. And we've seen many times, I've said this year that Tua wasn't leading. Now he's moved into the leadership role where people are talking about him being a better leader. If that translates to the field, I think we're going to see some really, really special stuff happen with Tua Tagovailoa.
A lot of players. I have never had one quite like him. And so to see him on this stage now, I'm not surprised.
So I got to believe that this is the year that Tua mirrors the same, success of Jalen Hurts. There's nothing that's going to stop him. He's just got to free the demons. If he frees the demons, when I say demons, the concussion worries, the premeditated throwing that people are saying, understanding that there may be some shortcomings with his athletic ability, but with Mike McDaniel's offense, he should be able to prosper just like Jalen Hurts did. This is the year that we're going to see if that's possible. Let's continue with this video.
D. Wood, it's a heck of a story. It's one we already know, but seeing it laid out like that and realizing how far he's come, what do you think?
Listen, I would never be the person that bets against Jalen Hurts. I mean, you just see it, from high school to college, up until this point. All he's done is just gotten better and better and better. And I think he just has this underdog chip on his shoulder that is just whatever he's doing is just not good enough.
That is what we need to see in Tua this year. You don't go in thinking you were an MVP candidate at the beginning of last year. You go in as an underdog. You go in with a chip on your shoulder, and you become that guy. You make people respect you. What Damian Woody just said is something I saw in this clip. It's like, that's exactly it. You got to play like you have a chip on your shoulder. You have so much to prove to people. You're coming off a year where at the beginning of the year you were sensational. At the end of the year, you basically shit the bed. And this year, you got to have a chip on your shoulder. You got to get out there and say, this wasn't a fluke. I'm going to carry this all 17 games. It wasn't a fluke with how I opened last year.
I think if he continues that, it's just driving him to greatness, man. It's one of the great stories that we have going on in the National Football League right now.
And yes, it was a great story. This is the year where Tua can write his story. Now understand what I'm saying. What kind of story would it be come December or January or February of next year, and Tua can come back from these concussions, come back from a crappy end of the season, take the Dolphins to the playoffs, take the Dolphins possibly to the conference championship? The people would be going nuts. That is how you overcome adversity. You got to play with a chip on your shoulder. Let's continue.
I was just so excited. That piece is so well done. Matthew did an awesome job with it. And I look at it as when you see such gigantic improvements, I think of it sort of like the rungs on a ladder. You can run up it really quickly because the space in between is small.
Now, remember, as you're listening to these people talk about Jalen Hurts, what I'm trying to get you to understand is insert Tua Tagovailoa. Everything in this video can be Tua Tagovailoa this year. It can just shock the world, show people that he's got it.
But it gets harder. So I don't think we're going to see such a gigantic jump in improvement this year because he did such a great job of that last season. But in terms of the mental side of it, Jason Kelce recently just shared that Hurts was so down about losing the Super Bowl, and it took them a really long time, even together as a team, to get over it. And Kelce was like, do you realize you had one of the best quarterback performances ever of a quarterback playing in the Super Bowl?
So again, the mental awareness of saying, hey, listen, you're down. You had a bad year. You lost the Super Bowl. You lost the Super Bowl as a bad year. Nobody thinks that. Tua, same thing. You had a bad ending of the season. Nobody expects you to stay there. They expect you to pick up, again, put that chip on your shoulder and prove everybody wrong. And let us be talking about you and the advancement that you made in your career in 2023.
You can't think of it that way. And Kelsey says no matter what you tell him, he's just always going to go about his business as if he's got that chip. And I think that's going to carry.
They said it again. You got that chip. You got to carry it with you all the time. You don't need that 700 play tape that Mike McDaniel. You already need to know you're that guy. Now you got to put that chip on your shoulder and say, I'm out there. I'm going to prove it.
As he continues to just have success with this Eagles team.
You know, something that jumps out to me is his improvement, the way in which he improves specifically too from year 1 to 2, improving in terms of his accuracy, throwing over the middle of the field, his command of the passing attack.
Could you imagine her saying those exact same words about Tua? The parallels was uncanny to me because I'm listening to him talk and I'm like, she could be saying that about Tua. Did you think the parallels make sense between Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa? I really do. I think this is a year that Tua puts chip on both shoulders and understands I need to take that next step. I need to be that guy, just like Jalen Hurts was last year, and take my team deep into the playoffs. Now, I'm not going to overhype Tua. That would be completely disingenuous if I started overhyping Tua after spending, 4 or 5 months saying he needs to fix this and he needs to fix that. But I'm going to call it as I see it. And I'm giving Tua the opportunity to show us, show everybody, show the league, show all the sports journals. He's ready to take those chips on his shoulder and really make something happen in 2023. Let me know if you see the parallel that could exist between Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa. Talk to you soon. Fins up.
Is anybody catching on to this Barry guy?